Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of Saturday Night Live Football, brought to you by Ragin, Cajun, Nacho Productions, and of course MEE. This is going to be a weekly podcast of sorts that I'm going to be doing along with my co-host Captain Tomac. Go ahead.
Yo.
And we're just going to kind of do a recap of everything. This is going to kind of be like an alternative to what Post and Mile High do, and just kind of gives you what I would like to think of as a more in-depth look at what's going on league-wide. So, thank you again, Tomac, for joining me today.
Hey, no worries.
All right, so let's get straight to the game here. And I don't want to talk about necessarily the league right off the bat, but I want to talk about what do you think about the game itself? How are you kind of receiving Madden this year?
I'm really loving Madden this year. No real complaints so far. I've only played with the Lions, so I've seen some questionable run blocking, but does that come with the overall? I'm not sure. But other than that, I've really loved this game.
Yeah, let's start about some things that we've seen in your games as the Lions. You know, some quote unquote questionable bullshit. Dan Orlovsky or whatever the fuck his name is. Man,
he's a 07 Mike Vick.
Apparently, dude's got some fucking moves. He's shaking everybody out there and just fucking playing like 07 Mike Vick.
He's got something like 57 agility too, which is the best part.
Yeah. I don't want to think too much on that, but I gotta agree with you. I actually really like the way the game plays this year. The blocking is suspect a lot, but like you, I've only played with one team, the Chargers, the whole time, so our offensive line is suspect to begin with. So I'm not really sure where the difference between talent and AI problem is on mine yet. So, but the run game I feel like is a little slow. It doesn't really feel as fluid as I would like per se.
Another point to that run game is I'm just not noticing the acceleration from players in running the ball. Like Abdullah, he has 95 acceleration. And then I go use Zenner. He's only got 87 acceleration, and I'm not seeing this big difference to get into the hole.
Yeah, and I'm kind of wondering if that's going to have if the speed threshold is going to have any kind of effect on that. I know Post usually plays with it around 32 to 39. I don't know why that seems about right to me, but I kind of feel the same way. Like the Chargers just recently signed Andre Williams, and I picked him up in a couple of in my offline league. And I tried to play with him around with him a little bit to see how he feels, and I don't see a big difference between, let's say, him and Melvin Gordon speed, like getting to top speed wise.
But the defense really feels good. I thought. I really like the new secondaries.
Yeah, it's it feels heavy, and I feel like that's appropriate for defenses because usually they're not always the most athletic players out there outside of the secondary. But I don't know. I do like the way the AI plays it a little bit better this year. I think a lot of people are going to have to adjust to that, and I'm hoping that Post doesn't really listen if people start complaining about how, it's too easy to be on defense. I'm hoping he kind of sticks to his guns on that and doesn't necessarily play around with that too much. But, I mean, every single slider set that I've looked at, because I've been trying to look at a few just to kind of get an idea of where I think Post is going to be at, it's all over the place. I mean, have you been looking at anything like that?
No, I haven't checked into the sliders much. Just playing the game as a base.
Well, the biggest thing that I've noticed just right out of the bat is almost everybody does their sliders on All Pro, and I'm not really sure why, but I've tried using the same sliders on All Pro as on All Madden, and oh my God, is there a difference in difficulty? Like on All Pro, you're like, all right, this is kind of a challenge, but not really, and you bump it up to All Madden, and then all of a sudden it's like God is stricken your entire team with mental retardation, and it's just.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! It's sort of like the way my team looked when I played against you the other day in that scrimmage.
Yeah.
But anyway, so is there anything that really stands out besides the defense in this game? Like maybe something that is kind of under the radar a little bit?
Not that I can really think of. Something that I've noticed is the number one receiver is always playing on the left side of the field. That could be a bigger problem for most people than you would think. I've already put Slay in a second corner spot because of that.
Yeah, I've actually been doing something similar with Barrett. I've actually went in and already set up my sub formation or my defensive formation. The position. Uh, I cannot think of the word now. You know what I'm talking about? Where
Formation
you sub,
subs?
yeah, formation subs. That's it. That's it. And I'm kind of playing around with having Barrett on both sides just in case somebody gets wise to it one way or the other. But I've
Yeah.
definitely noticed that. And with me, luckily, considering I have Hayward as my number two, it's not as bad with me. But with a team like yours, where your number two wouldn't be a number four on some teams, I could see that being a major problem for you.
Yeah, definitely. I was playing Costa the other night, and it was really just a guessing game where Marshall was going to be a lot of the times to keep Slay with him.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprisingly just guessing real well. Like I probably should have bought a lottery ticket or something, but yeah, it's definitely a big guessing game.
Well, that actually brings up another question that I'll probably ask you off the air, but we'll get into that later. Well, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes now. Let's actually get to the league itself. And we have a lot of new faces coming in. We have a lot of people, a lot of familiar faces and new places. But I kind of just want to go over the divisions and get your kind of thoughts on the way, maybe why guys selected these teams, who they should have, who they should look out for on the teams, and so on, and who you think is going to ultimately win them.
Okay.
Let's start with the AFC East, who probably had the biggest surprise. I mean, at least my personal biggest surprise of a team selection with J Gut taking the Buffalo Bills. Then you have Call Me the Guy, who is a familiar face, left for a while, came back. He took over the Dolphins. Procrastinator went away from his Colts finally and from his 49ers and went with the Patriots. And then Costa, who's been around the league for a while, but just recently came into premium, and he's taken over the Jets. What's your thoughts on that?
I have a strong belief that Costa's going to take this division.
You think so?
That front four, front three, it is just a monster. And there's some rumors there's a deal in the pipeline to help that organization out, and I think they're just going to be a team to look out for in that AFC East.
Yeah, I know me and him were in deep, deep trade talks for a good while when the game first came out, but they ended up breaking down ultimately, probably for the betterment of both teams. But I don't know. I kind of feel like I kind of got to go with either Call Me the Guy or J Gut. J Gut has the experience. He's been in the big games and everything. And Call Me the Guy has the talent sometimes, but just based on what I've seen from him so far in the preseason, offseason, whatever the hell you want to call it, he's kind of hit or miss.
Yeah, so well, he's got that nice playbook that only has 4 plays per formation.
Yeah, and it's actually apparently becoming pretty popular around the league. I know at least 1 or 2 people who have also adopted that I guess policy is the best word for it. And I'm kind of considering it myself as well, just to kind of simplify what I do. But actually, let's go ahead and I want to kind of change things up here a little bit. What do you think about that? Do you find anything wrong with that at all?
I'm not the biggest fan of that. I mean, they might not be money plays. I'm not going to say they are money plays he's using, but I feel there's a better chance that it'll just be money plays in there. But I guess time will tell, and I won't make a judge upon it yet. But if something fishy looks like it's happening when the league starts, then we might have an issue about it.
That was actually my first gut reaction too. Is like, oh. Anytime you hear people about just saying, oh, I'm only picking a few plays, that's the first thing that comes to my mind at least. But maybe if you can kind of balance it with having a lot of formations in there where it's not like you have 8 formations and then 5 plays per formation. If you really just make it a huge playbook, just really thin, maybe it won't have that problem so much. And maybe that could be what they're doing. I haven't really talked to them in depth about it. Just kind of picking up what I hear through the people who I know are picking it up, and then, of course, in the chat like everybody else.
Well, the first results in there, Call Me the Guy, beat the Giants 24-22 in the league. First preseason game of me. Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at that real quick. I also see the Buccaneers and Eagles just finished up. Eagles beat the Bucks 24-9. Let's see. So let's see. That's Tony and Call playing with the Dolphins and Giants, and then Atreyu slash Heartless, and the new guy DF Prince coming in, and not a good showing from the new booty there. Getting pretty handed pretty well there by Atreyu. We'll kind of look into them when we get
Yeah,
close to the end of the game. Just kind of do a little breakdown and see. I mean, it's preseason, so what can you take from it? But I mean, hell, it's football. We'll eat up anything we can get at this point.
exactly.
All right, so let's move on. We're gonna go. Let's go ahead and we'll jump to the opposite conference now. Let's go over the NFC East, which to me personally is the most interesting division because there's so many potentially real great players in that division. You got Cash Lama taking over the Cowboys once again. Tony Cheesesteak taking over his Giants again. He's kind of a hit or miss kind of guy. Then you got Atreyu, who showed signs of being great at the end of last year's Madden by building up that Rams team to make them really damn good. I can speak from personal experience on that. And then the real life favorites, the Washington Redskins and Harry Body Shots. What's your thoughts on all that?
Uh, Harry Body Shots, he's slow to get going. When he's going, he could be in the playoffs, but for a wild card contention. But I just don't see him competing off the bat. Really a toss up between Cash and Attach Heartless, however you say his new gamer tag. We'll stick with that, but I'm gonna give it to Heartless. I think he just puts the work in, and he's been talking himself up a bit there, saying he hasn't felt he's been this good on a Madden in a long time.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well, and I'll admit, with him being on my friends list on the Xbox, I've been watching a lot of his clips, and it looks like his biggest breadwinner, I guess you could say, is going to be his run game. He looks like he's got a really, really good run game, and but I don't know if I think it's necessarily going to be enough to really take the division because something that's kind of an underlying story here in this division. Remember, at the end of Madden 16, when the whole league was redrafted, Cash and Heartless were in the same division last year,
Yep.
and they had some really good games. So there's a little bit of a rivalry there just from familiarity standpoint. So I'm kind of curious to see if this carries over to this Madden. Are they going to have a bunch of slugfest like they did last year? Are we going to see some real good competition there? But I really think it's between those two, at least out of the gates. Because, yeah, like you said, Harry starts off real slow. Tony, you never know what you're going to get out of him. Usually about 8-8. He has times where he looks really good, and then he has times where he looks really bad. So,
Yeah, for sure. I just think that Heartless is going to be able to run all over them Cowboys. That's my biggest fear for Cash. Then again, Cash should be able to pass all over those Eagles.
it
But
sounds it sounds like everybody's going to be able to pass all over those Eagles if you just look at their team.
yeah, no kidding. But I think he's going to have some interesting defensive formations and such that kind of confuse teams when they pass against him, and I think those players are going to play a lot better than what they're rated.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of really interesting players on those two teams. I mean, you look at Byron Jones, who's fast, he's pretty good height, and he can jump out of the building. They bumped him back to safety. And then on the Eagles side, they've got that linebacker that nobody's heard of that apparently is really freaking fast. And then, of
Yeah,
course, they got uh, dang, his name escapes me. They got the receivers there with Matthews. Now they got Darrell Green Beckham. That was the name I was trying
yep,
to come up with. So he's got players all over the field. I think it's going to be the most interesting matchup, at least out of the gate,
yeah, I agree.
that I can think of that comes to mind. Excuse me. All right. Let's jump back over to the AFC side. Now we're going to head to the North, which for a long time was the slugfest division. I mean, I can remember at least the last two Maddens. That was a division you did not want to go to if you didn't want competition. Do you really feel like it's going to be carrying it that year? Carrying that same banner like it has in the past, considering the two new faces to the division, Ralph and Blessed, taking over the Bengals and Steelers respectively, and of course Ravens and Browns are still in the same hands.
Yeah, I think Ralph's going to take the division this first year. I don't think it's going to be a very potent division. Don't think we're going to see much noise coming from that division come playoff time in any of the Mountain seasons, really, unless Grimy can somehow make some sort of amazing deal that we've seen lots happen before. But I just don't see a lot of noise happening from that division.
Yeah, it's kind of weird just how far that division has fell, if you want to put it that way. I agree. I think it's going to be Ralph. I think Bless is going to push him for it just because you look at the way Blessed has played with offenses in the past, and now he has arguably one of the best offenses in the game. I mean, they
But
got Martavius Bryant, Antonio Brown, Ladarius Green, Le'Veon Bell, and an offensive line that could actually block, which is rare this year.
I think Les doesn't have the user skills to make Shazier as powerful as he should be.
You know, that's a
And I
good
think
point.
he needs to rely on the AI too much, and that secondary as well as mostly that whole defense isn't the AI is just not there for him.
That is true. I think that will be his biggest downfall, and that's the reason why I have to give it to Ralph. Which Ralph's defense isn't as good as, or the Bengals' defense, I should say, isn't as good as we've seen in years past. I mean, they lost Reggie Nelson to the Raiders. That secondary is getting really, really old. Their front
Yeah,
four
for
still
sure.
looks pretty good. I'm not sure about their linebackers. I know they got Burfisit, and
Yeah, and they got Dansby
yeah,
starting as
yeah.
well as Malaluga.
So it's going to be interesting, but I agree. I think Ralph, there's just too many weapons there. I mean, he's got a running back stable that can handle for days. AJ Green, as long as I think that's going to be the key point. If AJ Green stays healthy, I think Ralph wins the division. If he gets hurt and misses a significant amount of time, I think that's going to be enough to just completely derail the Bengals, just because they don't really have anybody else. I mean, even Eifert's not as good as we've seen in years past.
For sure, for sure.
So I think it'll be interesting, but I agree. It's going to be a quieter division than what we're used to. Which, of course, anytime you have J Rod and Grimy in the same division and now no more J Rod, it's going to get a little quieter.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
All right, let's stay in the North, but now we're heading to your division. Now, you being the newcomer along with Randy OG, y'all are playing the veterans in Post and Parazoic, and y'all have probably the two worst teams in the division. I want your opinion. How do you see this playing out as someone who's seen it from the inside?
I ain't even worried.
Not even worried, huh?
No, I think I'm gonna get ran all over on by those Vikings and AP.
Well, let's be
And
fair. That's going to be
Post,
everybody.
yeah, that's true. And then Post, I think he's a smart enough passer to pick my secondary apart. But Randy, OG, I don't know what to expect from him yet. Only time will tell. But my offense, I think when I'm dialed in, my offense is clicking though. Past scrimmages.
Well, have we even seen Randy actually play a scrimmage, or has anybody even talked about playing him yet? Because I haven't really heard much from him.
He usually just comes and chats, says what's up, and disappears. But had a little trade talk with him. Did an interview with him for the articles. Welcome to the big leagues. But other than that, I haven't heard from him since.
All right. Well, here let's put a hard question on you. Do you think he might be the first one we see go out of this year's lineup?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate anything. It'd be a sad thing. It'd be a sad thing to see happen, but I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. It's not ever fun to talk about somebody who we don't even know potentially leaving because of inactivity or family or whatever. But I mean, it's something that does have to be talked about every once in a while, just because this is Madden, and some people are going to be as on board as they thought they were. But as for my thoughts on the division, I really think this is going to be Para's division to lose. I mean, no offense to EU or any of the other ones there, but that Vikings team is as good as I've seen in a while. The Packers are the only one that I really think have for man the ability to compete with them. But I think if you line up Post versus Para wins that matchup.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so now let's go up to the AFC South, where we have really only one person returning that has seen any significant time in the league. That's going to be Lamar taking over the Titans again. Then we have the Jaguars being taken over by LA 24. And then two new booties coming to the league with WTF Kevo 89 taking the Texans, and then the newest member of the league, Maserati GT 2016 taking over the Colts. Do you think 2-4 is going to have enough with that Jaguars team to take the division?
Yeah, definitely. I think his skill set's just way above average. Yeah, he went to the Super Bowl there with the Jets, who I thought were quite a bad team.
Mm-hmm.
They lost most of their guys in free agency due to the previous owner not re-signing, and he somehow managed to take them to the Super Bowl. Now he's got a guy like Telvin Smith to use her. I can definitely see him winning that division. And Jalen Ramsey and Prince Akamora just will shut down passing games. Like, that's got to be one of the best secondaries.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Do you think the Jaguars may be one of the most fun teams to take over this year?
I think so, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, you think about it, they got basically 2 first-round picks in Jalen Ramsey and then Miles Jack, who maybe may not be as good as if he was taken in the top of the first round, but he's still got a lot of talent there.
And that offense, too. I mean, you got Ivory and Yeldon. You got the 1-2 punch there. You got receivers out your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Your O-line isn't terrible. It's probably above average, and Dante Fowler's still there. And you signed Malik Jackson too.
Mm-hmm.
That team's just gonna be a nice team.
Now, the only question, I mean, I don't know anything about Maserati, so I can't even begin to speculate on him. I just know the Colts team is not that good. I have a gut feeling, though, that Kevo is going to be potentially, at least out of the gate, his biggest competition in the division. No offense to Lamar, it's just that Titans team has a lot of holes on it. But I just have a gut feeling that Kevo is going to actually be able to do something there. And I don't know if he'll win the division. I'll say this, he's got 1 year to do it. Because I think 2-4 after a year with that team is going to have it stacked and ready to go. But I feel like Kevo's
I don't even know what to expect from Kevo. I don't even know what to expect from that Kevo, but
I know he's friends with Atreyu, and Atreyu talked him up a little bit when they first came into the league. So that's really, I guess, where my gut's kind of coming from is just hearsay. But if half of what Atreyu said about him is true, then that's going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah. I mean, you got that base Texans defense.
Well, the best player probably, one of the best players to ever play the game, and J.J. Watt.
Yeah,
I mean, he alone can change a game. So we'll see.
Yep, definitely.
All right, now we head to probably the second most tenured division in MEE, the NFC South, where you have PhD, Sancho, and Remisu all returning, all with the same teams that they had last year with the Falcons, Panthers, and Saints, respectively. And then you have the newcomer, DF Prince, who in the first game that we've seen of him so far in the preseason hasn't looked really good. But like I said earlier, that's preseason. How much can you take away from that? But my gut is actually saying PhD wins this. What do you think?
I don't see Sancho. He's got 70 head-to-head games already played. It's a staggering number.
That's true.
And when he's interested, he's got to be one of the best players in our league for sure. And now that he has his Panthers, I just can honestly see him not losing interest.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And I mean, it's really hard for me to not pick Sancho to take this, but it's just I feel like PhD is going to be riding a lot of momentum that he picked up in the last couple, or at least the last Madden. He made it to a Super Bowl and almost beat J-Rod. Like there was a moment where it was starting to go his way. I don't think he ever actually had the lead over J-Rod, but it was looking like he was actually going to make a push for him. So, I mean, plus he's got Julio Jones, who maybe not the best wide receiver in the game, but he could be the most explosive wide receiver in the game.
Yeah, for sure. And he's not against Norman now either.
Yeah, true. That is a major weakness now for the Panthers. I mean, who's their number one? Beniqui, whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah.
So
and PhD also got Alex Mack in free agency too. We can't forget.
That is true. I mean, and now Devontae Freeman's even bulked up to a more than respectable running back in the league. So I don't know. I feel like PhD can actually make a push here.
I respect that.
I mean, that's not a knock on Remisu and the Saints and Prince on the Bucks either. I mean, that speaks more to the talent that they have in the division more than their talent as members of the division. Because technically, Remisu has a better win percentage than PhD.
Yeah, that is true. I'm looking forward to seeing Deion Jones. How good of a user he's gonna be.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Now we're going to head to the most tenured division in MEE. The same division has literally never changed in all 3 years of MEE. That's going to be the AFC West. And I don't even have to tell you who the teams are. Who do you think comes out of this?
I think Black. I think he's gonna finally get off his couch.
You think so?
I think so. Well, if he keeps believing in himself, I think he will be. But loses confidence like he normally does, I think he's just gonna be back to the couch, and that team's gonna go to waste.
It is kind of a refreshing feeling to see Black actually feeling himself a little bit, actually excited about his team and everything. It's a breath of fresh air not seeing the woe is me ATL copycat that we usually see this time of year.
I agree. I get so bored of the couch talk.
Well, there's a couple of couch members nowadays, it seems like. But
yeah.
I think Mile High is actually going to take it just because that defense by itself. I mean, if Mile High doesn't do anything, let's say he plays just the defensive line and doesn't really put much into the usering aspect of it. I mean, that whole defense is stacked from front to back. I mean, there's only 2 weaknesses on the entire defense, and that's just holes where y'all had guys leave in free agency last year. So I don't see, especially with defense being so much more improved AI wise this year. I don't see how there's really going to be anybody able to do anything against them.
I just can't see him getting CJ Anderson going though. Not the greatest runner already, and now he's got way below subpar O-line ahead of him. And I think Paxton Lynch is going to get 8 and alive too. I think we're going to be seeing lots of fumbles. And when that new ball physics came into play, getting rid of the ball at last second, I instantly thought MHC's going to get affected by that one of the most because he's one of those guys who wait till the last second. I'm pretty bad for it too, but
I think we might have lost Tomac there for a second. But yeah, I have
Hello.
to agree. Okay, there he's back good. All right. But I have to agree. I mean, the biggest weakness on that Broncos team is that offense, and it is lacking in so many areas. I mean, basically, y'all have great wide receivers, but really that's it. I mean, y'all got a decent running back, but really, I mean, like you said, y'all have no offensive line, so the running game can almost be null and void. But I think we're actually going to have a potential black horse in the division. I'm kind of thinking Crew might actually do something this year because that Chiefs team is really, really freaking good.
yeah, it is a very good bet. Yeah, I just don't see it.
And to make it clear, yes, there's someone we are definitely not talking about in the division, and that is myself, and that's because the Chargers team is absolute shit. So, we're not going to talk about me. Let's go to the potential best division in all the MED this year. That's going to be the NFC West, who, I mean, really looks like they're stacked almost from top to bottom. There's only really one wild card in the whole division, and that's going to be Mr. Madden, just because we haven't seen anything from him. But I mean, even Omar with that Rams team, this looks like really the division this year.
Yeah, I think Omar's gonna turn some heads there with that team also. I think he's gonna really get Gurley going. I played Mr. Madden once in a scrimmage. He used the Eagles, not the 49ers. Oh, he played pretty well. I think he's gonna need to find himself a quarterback if he doesn't use Colin Kaepernick. Just what I've noticed. I don't think he'll be too successful with a more pocket-oriented quarterback, but I really see Tanny winning the division hands down.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. While I feel like this division has the most talent from top to bottom, I feel like Tanny has too much of a talent gap. There's too much of a talent gap between him and probably the next best guy in the division is going to be Jumpman. So I
Yeah,
agree. I think this is going to be the division that nobody wants to play, but I think it's going to be very one-sided within the division.
yeah, I completely agree with you. Tany's just so good on offense. He reads defenses beautifully, and now he's got a team like we've never seen him have before.
Oh yeah.
I
I mean,
just think,
this is probably the second best offense in all the league right now.
oh, I definitely agree. Totally agree with you. And then with the defense to go along with it,
Mm-hmm.
he could just set the controller down basically and just watch.
But there's going to be one big major question for that team. Who's going to be the starting quarterback?
I think it's gonna be Tany himself. We normally
Yeah,
see that, but
yeah.
I think Tany himself gets injured or something. He brings Palmer in.
Well, that's what I was about to ask. Do you think Post is going to make a special exception where maybe he can trade away Palmer? I mean, because Palmer's in the top 8. He's not anywhere near the end of his contract year, so.
We haven't seen that rule happen yet. When he was with the Dolphins there, he had to wait to the offseason trade Tannehill.
Yeah, but we all know that Post has a little soft spot in his heart for Mr. Tanny.
Of course.
All right, well, that covers every division in the league this year, which already puts us ahead of the other radio show that I think only got through maybe 2 divisions. Anyway, all right, Tomac. Now comes the hard pressing question: Who takes
I'm
home?
all ears.
Who takes home that Lombardi Trophy this first season?
Tany with the Cards.
Think so?
Yeah, I definitely think so.
All right, who do you think is going to be coming out of the AFC to challenge him?
Ooh, now that's more of a hard one. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna keep giving Costa the love. I'm gonna go with Costa.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna give Costa some more love and go with him.
You know what? I'm going to take a flying shot here. I have nothing to base this off of. This is a pure pull it out of my ass pick. I'm going to say Tanny is going to be playing his old team, the Miami Dolphins, and call me the guy in the first Super Bowl this year.
Okay.
Wouldn't that
I
be an
can see that
interesting
for sure.
story too?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, call me. I don't know. Just like I said, I mean, this is a complete out of my ass pick. Just because call me the guy's hot and cold. But really and truly, I don't see anybody else in the division or in the entire conference that really says I'm the guy. You know, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of talent out of the NFC, but really and truly, if Tanny can stick it out for the season, and the reason I say that is because he did actually make the 53-man roster for the Tennessee Titans. Congrats to him on that, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
But really, there's nobody I think like there's no. I'm trying to think of what's a good comparison for it. There's not anybody else like him in the conference, and really there's nobody else in the entire league that is like him coming out of the gates. I think 2-4 is probably his next toughest competition, but I don't think that Jaguars team is just there yet. So
Yeah, I agree with you.
I gotta say I think it's gonna be the Dolphins and call me the guy just because I don't really see anybody else. I think the only other person I can see making it that far would be Mile High with the Broncos, and that's just because I think his defense is going to be so good that it's going to almost carry him there. But I think the offense is going to be not going to be enough to really keep him going. So
Yeah, I think the NFC is definitely the conference to this year.
do you think they take all the Super Bowls, sort of like the AFC almost did 2 months ago?
I wouldn't go that far necessarily, but I think it's gonna be more. I think you're gonna see more competition in the NFC going to the Super Bowl in the AFC. I think once 2-4 gets going, I think it's gonna be him a lot.
Yeah, maybe. He could be the new J-Rod of the division. I mean, it's really hard to tell because, I mean, I'll admit, this is no offense to 2-4. I think he's got one of the best offenses I've seen, but his defense is really suspect.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because if I can break the passing yards record against you in a game, and everybody has seen how bad I am on offense, how just inept I am on offense,
That was this
you might have
Madden,
a problem.
or
That was the last Madden.
Oh, okay.
It was a game where I actually had to suspend my quarterback just because he was the only form of offense that I had all game. So,
Uh,
so I mean that's the
I
only thing I
didn't
think
I
is going
didn't
to
know
hold him
that
back.
stat.
Yep. I think it was the last season of MEE, like a week 15 game or something. But
Okay,
I
I
mean, now
probably.
that could just been because his Jets defensive secondary wasn't that good, or it could be a reflection of him. But that's the only actual contact I have with him in a game space. So that's
Okay.
the only knock I have to have on him. But he's got a damn good offense.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would have been gone on holidays for that time.
Yeah, that's possible, or as most people call them, vacations.
Yeah, I like taking a lot of those. So.
All right, Tomac, let's move on to the next segment that I want to talk about. If you had to pick one player, not user, player, that you think is
Okay.
going to kind of come out of nowhere and be a breakout player and really make an impact, who would you say?
Well, for myself, I'd say Marvin Jones, but I'm not gonna use my own team. I'm gonna go with Ryan Matthews. I think he's gonna be a top 5 league rusher this year.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you. Just based on what I've seen from Heartless Atreyu, whatever the hell you want to call him, it feels like Matthews is playing on another level every time you see him actually, being used by Atreyu. So I
Even
think it's a
when
solid pick.
even when I played against Mr. Madden
Mm-hmm.
and he was the Eagles, I could not stop Matthews worth the life of me. He was running through me, no problem. Ansah gets behind the line of scrimmage, and next thing you know, Ansah's on his ass, and Matthews is getting a first down.
Well, all right. As for me, I mean, I don't know if you can necessarily call it a breakout just because there's so much hype surrounding him, but he was a mid-round pick, and he's a backup probably out of the first season. I got to go with Dak Prescott, or Rain
Okay.
Prescott as that's actually his first name. But I don't know. It's just you look at the boost he got from the first of the year update. He's got so much talent there. He's got the ability to move around in the pocket and take off if he needs to. I just don't see him not making an impact, especially when
Cash
Cash
loves to
is.
pass too.
Yeah, I mean, and Cash is so good with the quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
he's always got his head on a swivel. He's not just looking downfield. He's paying attention to the pocket. He knows when to take off. So I don't see Dak Prescott not making an impact in the league.
I would totally agree with you.
But if I'm gonna take a page out of your book and kind of hype up one player that's kind of under the radar, I got to give Tyrell Williams some love. He's 6'4", 90 something speed, and Duke can actually catch. He catches above his attributes, so that's my personal team wise under the radar player. All right. So I think that just about wraps up everything. Maybe one last thing I want to talk about here is the actual new booties to the league, or maybe they'll come up with their own terms, sort of like the way the last new class came in, they dubbed themselves new booties. How much do you know about these new guys? You did articles on them, so you have a better insight than most people on them.
Yeah, we got Mr. Madden there. He's a Steelers fan. He live and dies by the blitz. I did notice that when I played against him.
So you can kind
And
of
then
y'all have a mutual understanding there.
yeah, then Kevo, I haven't played him yet, but he's an Eagles fan. Uh, I'm not. He was talking about one day wanting to see the Eagles go to a Super Bowl in his lifetime. I don't think we're ever gonna see that, but um,
Well, how old is
no,
he? Because I can remember the Eagles going to a Super Bowl against the Patriots a few years back.
or maybe it was a win. I might have to pull the article back up, but I think he's gonna be really good at building through the draft.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna be one of those guys who you look at and you say, "Wow, he's a good team builder." Um,
Well, he's a
and then
commissioner of his own league too, isn't he?
yeah, he is. And then we have DF Prince and those Tampa Bay Bucks. They got a lot of young talent. Um, and I think DF Prince is another one of those guys who gonna turn some heads when he builds through the draft and just builds that team up. But I've already asked about a couple of those Bucks players that I really like, and he he definitely turned me away quicker than I could even ask. But
I'm guessing Quan Alexander's name came up in those conversations.
it quite honestly could have.
It could have, just maybe.
Just maybe.
All right, what about the others? You know anything about them?
Randy, I don't really know much about him. He's kind of just kind of a ghost. Maybe we have ourselves another crew here.
Oh god, we don't need another one of those.
Supposedly Crew's gonna be good this year, but
well, yeah, according to Post said he had an actual sit-down talk with him and kind of quote-unquote encouraged him to participate more, end quote.
I think that'll work until the new FIFA comes out at the end of September.
Well, I'll say this. I really hope so because Crew's a good guy. I enjoy having that rivalry with him. I mean, me and him have had some epic games where he may not beat me all the time, but he always ends up taking out a player that I'm like really, really key to my team. Like I can remember my Super Bowl run. He actually took out my starting quarterback, so I had to run with Tom Savage for the entire playoffs. All because of him, all because of one stupid play that I can still remember vividly. But I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop before I get ahead of myself there because I'm gonna start having some flashbacks here. But yeah, I'm encouraged by the new guys coming in. We have a few that are making some noise in the chat, which is always good as long as it's positive noise.
Yeah,
nothing
for
I
sure.
hate more than someone coming in and being a negative influence. And I really hate to kind of say that about certain people. I'm not going to call names to anybody, but we all know who I'm talking about. And I'll admit, there's nothing more that just kind of gets under my skin than people who come in and kind of have that attitude, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is just a Madden game. You know, there's no point in actually berating other people for fuck reasons, you know? I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
it's a game. We get heated in the moment, cuss people out when they can't hear you, come to the chat, have a good attitude. That's all I ask out of everybody.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right, well, one last thing. Let's go ahead and cover the first official MEE games of the Madden 17 season. We have the Buccaneers and Eagles finished up, and the Dolphins and Giants. Do you have the game pulled up to where you can look at them?
I did, but I'm just away from my Xbox at the moment. I'll be heading back there right now. Sorry.
Wait, I got it pulled up. I can give you a rundown.
I did notice the Bucks didn't throw any picks. I'm not really sure why that game was so far apart when I was initially looking at the stats, but I didn't see fumbles though. There could have been a lot of fumbles.
Potentially. I'm looking at it now. It looks like there's actually only one turnover the entire game. I'm kind of like you. I'm sitting here looking at it. I don't see, anything necessarily that stands out as to why it'd be such a. I mean, it's not really a large margin, but a decent-sized margin. Except for it looks like the Buccaneers could not pass the ball, which is surprising considering that defense has no secondary.
But there's only 3 punts in the game as well, so I'm just... I'm at a loss.
I don't know. Maybe let me see. Let me actually pull up the punter stats here. 1 second. Only 3 punts returned, so there could have been a lot of them that went out of bounds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're correct.
Actually, no. No, there was only apparently...
No, there's only 3 punts.
3 punts that registered.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, you'd think with that little punts, there'd be quite the high scoring game.
Yeah, that's actually really confusing.
Yeah. If you go to the rushing, you'd notice Ryan Matthews only had 1 carry, and that was 63 yards to the house.
Yeah, it looks like he got pulled pretty early after that. Doug Martin and Chris Sims were the only 2 after that actually did anything. I don't know. It actually looks like it was not much of a stat-heavy game. Chase Daniel was the leading passer with 184 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Carson Wentz had 84 yards and went 3-for-3. So
yeah,
it doesn't look like the starters were in for very long for the Eagles, at least. Oh, excuse me. Whew. I'm just getting over a head cold, so my throat's still kind of recovering.
Oh, no worries.
I don't know. It looks like a looks honestly like a very boring game. I'm actually kind of glad we didn't watch that because it does not look like it was very entertaining. But it does look like Atreyu actually passed the ball very well, going 268 yards compared to the Buccaneers 109. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm at a loss too.
Well, let's take a look at the much closer Dolphins-Giants game. It was actually a 2-point game, 24-22, going to the Dolphins. And it looks like the Dolphins dominated really both sides of the ball for the most part. The Giants were able to pass the ball, but weren't very successful running. And the Dolphins pretty much look like they did pretty good all around. Let's see the actual stats. Looks like the starters played the entire game, though, or at least the starting quarterbacks.
It looked like a true New York Giants loss to me. Tony Cheesesteak, yes, wow. Can't style game. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Get my words out, but
yeah.
Going to Odell.
Yeah, going to Odell and Sterling Shepard, his second favorite target. Somebody he's actually really excited about. I know I said actually a lot there in that single sentence, but 10 receptions between the two, 148 or 44 yards between them, and a touchdown each. So
yeah, he really keys on his top two receivers. I noticed. Wrote the Maddens.
Yeah. With
he can shut those two down. Shut those two down. He won't look to the tight end lots. And
if you shut down one of them.
Yeah, really, if you shut down one of them, exactly, and you're gonna have a lot better time shutting down than you will X.
Yeah, which it kind of looks like maybe that's the reasons the Dolphins ended up pulling out the win, because Eli Manning actually threw 2 interceptions on the day. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say just because we didn't actually watch the games, and it is preseason, so what exactly happened in the game is hard to say. But exciting nonetheless. It's football season again. It's MEE season.
Yeah, definitely.
It's all here. Here we go. It's going to be slow to get going just because everybody's got to join. I know there's still quite a few computer teams left. People aren't going to necessarily want to play within this first night, but maybe in the first couple of nights they'll start getting to it. Then, of course, we have free agency opening up. I'm not really sure when. Probably tomorrow, if I had to take a guess. And then, of course, there's going to be the onslaught of trades that happen during the off/preseason of MEE. So things are about to get lit up. Things are about to get really exciting. So this first step, I want to thank everybody who joined us in this first episode, or at least is listening to us, because there's not really much to talk about. So we kind of just BS'd our way through the past hour or however long we've been doing this. But I want to especially thank Captain Tomac, who's going to be joining me as my official co-host for Saturday Night Live. Originally, I planned on doing this by myself, but he's actually going to take up the mantle and be the token Canadian that seems to be in all the radio shows for MEE.
What can I say? Hey.
That is something apparently y'all like to say a lot, if you want to be stereotypical.
And a boot.
And a boot.
I clearly say about, but you say a boot.
Yeah, I think you've said it like one time. Just like it slipped out. You said it one time, and since then you'll never live it down.
Okay.
I don't really remember. I could be completely pulling that out of my ass as well. But
yeah, I think
either way. Yeah, probably. I might have somebody who can back me up on that. Either way, it's still fun to fuck with you about it. So, but thank you again, Tomac, for joining me. Thank you all so much for joining us. Expect a new episode every single Saturday night. I'm going to be living to it. Tomac actually just left, just in case y'all heard that coming across. He just left the chat, so it's just me now. Thank you all so much for joining me. I cannot wait to really get into this and to bring y'all new content every single week. And also, I would like to announce that we are going to be doing the game broadcast again, but we're going to do it a little bit different. I have more information about that in next week's episode, so make sure to tune in then. This has been the Ragin Cajun Nacho speaking for myself and Captain Tomac. Good night, everybody.